Three, two, one, go.
Oh, you got the...
What's up, guys? This is Ed Gregory from photosincolor.com coming live to you from Las Vegas. We are 30 minutes late, and that might be fairly amusing that little clicker thing counted down to 11 because we are 30 minutes late today. However, let me just explain one thing for a moment. We do not have all of my staff that I usually have to run this. This week is CES, which is the Consumer Electronics Show, and Ray, Kev, and Rosie are all working over there. So it's going to be me and Dan Cooper. So I'm going to be switching the show. I've got a computer, a switcher, loads of stuff going on over here. I'm going to try and do it live. If we look here...
Major audio feedback.
Major audio feedback. What does that mean?
How about now? I think we're all sorted. Are we good? Everybody happy? So sorry, I pressed the wrong button, so this can happen today, the entire show, because I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm gonna try and switch. So here, if we go over here, ready? This is Dan Cooper. He's on screen. He is going to be reading your questions. He is going to be also making sure we're streaming live. And he is also going to be making sure that everything works just fine. I am down here. I wish that you could see. I'm controlling this whole desk here, trying to figure it all out. So if there's lots of mistakes, I apologize at the beginning. But what we need to do is get this show started. So thank you. Oh, there's also no audio coming from our video playback today because I didn't manage to get that sorted. But let's start the show. This is Ed Gregory from Photos in Color for this week's live show. This is like the worst. This is the worst setup ever. I'm trying so hard to do this, and I'm not very good at it, to be honest with you. So stay tuned, because this week might be a fun one. If I get something wrong, I apologize. If I'm out of focus or a battery dies, I apologize. I'm not even wearing any shoes because I'm so unprepared for today. Okay, let's see if we can actually make a live show happen and actually do all of these things. I don't know if these lights are even on me today. Anyway, I think, oh, 1 second. I realized why I was so dark. Is that better? That's better. I'm so sorry. And we didn't turn on some of the lights for the top of the show. Oh, we have been trying to get this right, okay? The reason, oh God, I didn't even shower or do my hair today. The reason why we are late is because we had the wrong cable down here. Our software broke over, I don't know, it was all a mess. But we are live now, we're gonna make this happen. So what is a PIC live show? Well, PIC Live is where I review your photographs and you get to choose what next week's challenge theme is actually going to be. So remember, you can hop onto Instagram and check out and vote on next week's vote. What is next week's 2 challenges? Well, they are, I'm going to go on my own Instagram because I posted it just before we came live. And it is either F2.8 or extreme weather. And I can see already you guys are voting, and it's currently on 72% F2.8. Remember, head over to Photos in Color on Instagram and make that vote. Now, if you want to upload one of your photographs, there is a link in the description just here, or you can head over to photosincolor.com/live, and you can find all of the upload links just there. Okay, let me look at my computer for a moment and see if we can make this work. So, first of all, why are all my staff working somewhere else? Well, check this out, because it is CES, the Consumer Electronics Show. This is the biggest tech show in the world. It happens every single year in January, and loads of things get launched, everything. For example, today, Panasonic launched a brand new GH5S, which is even more targeted towards video. It does 4K at 60 frames a second, I think. It's got amazing things. I'm just looking here. Already today, with the show opened an hour ago, and already we've got a brand new projector. We have, GoPro, because they are launching their new 360-degree camera. That's the one that you can move around after you've actually filmed it and choose your angles. We've got new hard drives. Canon has launched a new printer. Western Digital have launched new hard drives that are supposed to be rugged. And Nikon, if you're a Nikon shooter, they just launched their 180 to 400 millimeter 1.4 lens. Is that true? No, f4. TC 1.4. I don't even know what that means. f4 lens, that is a massive zoom lens, hugely powerful, so hopefully I'll get my hands on one of those. I am actually going to be going to CES and making some videos for you guys, so stay tuned for that. Anyway, guys, I'm out of breath because I can't believe we're actually getting this sorted today. Remember, upload your videos. This week's theme was 50 millimeters. I even forgot what it was. So remember, you can vote on next week's theme. Your themes, I'm going to try and do this. How do I do this? I think I press on this button. There we go. All we have to do, you just go to Instagram and there's F2.8 or weather for next week. Whew. Okay, so let's come in here. I'm just going to go to added order so we can have a look at all of your wonderful photos. So these are your 50 millimeter photos that you have sent in. Everything this week must have been taken on a 50 millimeter lens, or a lens that has 50 millimeter within its focal length. Now, a few people, how do I come out of this? There we go. A few people actually asked last week, what if you have a crop sensor? I decided that what we want to do is have 50 millimeter has to be the focal length of the actual lens. Whether or not you're shooting crop doesn't actually matter. So let's jump in and let's have a look down here at some of these lenses. The first one is coming from Brian McCarty. McCarty? Yeah, I think that's correct. A beautiful photograph of a cat. Nice shallow depth of field. I love the focus on the eye here. I actually like the color. It's very autumnal. You've added some yellow to the image, which has meant that the white of the cat has also gone yellow. Now let me show you a way to get around that in case you wanted to do that yourself. What you can actually do here is just take the brush module here, double click effect to reset it, and then just take your saturation down, and then what you can do is just paint over the area that you don't want to take on that yellow color. And you can see very quickly, I'm not going to do a great job of this, you would want to spend more time, but straight away, if you were to do the before and after of this image, like so, you can see now the cat looks way more alive because the white of the cat is still white, the color that it should have been. Let's keep going, but really nice photograph, and I like the framing because the cat is looking up and out of the frame, so that little bit of extra headspace I actually really like. Let's keep on moving. What do we got over here? Okay, I like this photograph. I'm going to say, though, that what has happened is you've pushed this image a little bit too far. Reason is, oh, let me come out of the brush module. Hold on, let me just delete that point. The reason is she's got brown hair, yet her hair almost looks gray. Usually to achieve something like that, you've lifted your shadows too much. So that's what's happened in this image, and I think that it's actually detracted a little bit away. My guess is you shot it, you focused on the eye right here, which is in sunlight, and then what's happened is it's made all of your blacks too dark. Personally, I would have maybe kept your exposure closer to the original. If you're gonna make it black and white, in my opinion, make it black and white, and I'd have just brought those blacks down. Something a little bit like this. It looks a little bit more realistic now, as opposed to making her hair seem gray. Outside of that, I actually really like the sun over her face, probably mottled from a tree, but great work on a 50mm lens, and 50mm lenses are actually great for portraits. In fact, let's talk for a moment. How do I get out of this? There you go. Let's talk a moment for 50mm lenses and portraits. And some people say it's not good for portraits. Some people say that it is good. I think it is a great starter lens for portraiture, meaning it's a really cheap lens, a 50mm lens. It's usually the cheapest lens that you can get after a kit lens. You can get a 1.8 for about $200 or less. Buy them secondhand, but that's what I would do to start off with. But if you are shooting on a crop sensor image, you have a huge advantage there, because what that means is your 50mm lens then becomes more like a, depending on what camera and what crop sensor, between an 80 and a 95mm lens. So 85mm is wonderful for portraiture. So on a crop sensor, an 85mm prime is actually fantastic. So that's why I think they're great as portraiture lenses. And also it allows you to get in a little closer. So if you're doing photographs of children or something like that, getting a little bit closer, a little bit more intrusive, is actually a way to really get yourself inside the child's world. Okay, we're gonna jump back in and continue reviewing your photographs. Let me see where we got up to here. Oh, okay, I like this photograph. Let's see if I can go back in here. I'm not very good at, oh, I messed it up, broke it. There you go, fixed it. So let's have a look here. This one here was sent in by, let's see if we can bring this up, Alex Lima. I like this photograph a lot. You've got the kid that has wearing the, I'm guessing it's the dad's tie. A few things with it though. I like it as a concept. I think it's fun. I feel like the skin tones are that little bit too warm, in my opinion. A little bit yellow to that, so we could actually just do a white balance on the wall back here, which is looks like it should be white. Click on that. That's going to make that a little bit cooler. If you look at the before and the after, I think it looks a little bit more natural. And then what I'm actually going to do, I'm going to come into the HSL down here, and I'm going to select Skin Desat. This is something from PIC presets that you can buy on photosincolor.com, but just by clicking Skin Desat, it hasn't affected anything in the image apart from the hue, saturation, and luminance. And you can see it's just made it that much more realistic, which I prefer in an image like this. The only other thing is, we've cut off the guy's head completely. Now, I kind of don't mind it because it's so dramatic that you've definitely done that, but I would probably like to see a version where we saw the guy's head as well. Oh, we're adding more photos. Let me just come back there. Dan, just watch adding photos while we're live. If you did, it will jump in.
Sorry, boss.
Wait, Dan's never done this, so let me come back here. If there's any mistakes, Dan's never done this before, so he's just doing the best, and he's doing a wonderful job. In fact, Dan Cooper, do you want to say hello? I want to bring you to Dan Cooper. Hold on. Dan? Oh, I've messed it up again. How do I do this? Dan? You're in.
Hey!
Tell us a little bit about you, Dan.
My name's Dan Cooper. I am Ed Gregory's servant. I live in the basement at the studio. He brings me out once a week to clean the toilets.
No, Dan, how do we know each other? Come on.
Ed and I have known each other a long time. We performed together in Blue Man Group all over the world. And we actually have travelled together, done a lot of videography and travel photography together and video projects. And I'm glad to be helping out here today. I'm sorry I'm not Rosie, but...
There we go. That there.
I don't know if I can do this. That there is Dan Cooper. He's wonderful and helping us out today. Now remember, if you have any do we have any questions? Dan's also going to be trying to catch up on questions while he's doing about 300 other things. So if we do have questions, just give me a wave. Do we have one?
We've got one that's slightly off topic.
Oh, I'll be honest with you, I love off-topic questions.
So let's go for it.
Okay, so we got one from Ricardus. He said, what would you recommend for landscape or astrophotography with the budget plus or minus 500 euros? What lens?
What lens? Okay,
so that... I don't know if I'm turning these mics on and off correctly, but I'm trying. So astrophotography, so you're shooting in the dark. So what you really want to do, well, the main thing here is the sensor, actually. It was astro or what photography? Okay, nobody can remember. Nighttime photography?
Landscape.
Oh, okay. So if you want landscape astrophotography, you're going to want a wide enough lens that you can, excuse me, you can capture your landscape and then get the stars above. You'd want a fairly fast lens so that you can let in lots of light, but really it's going to be your preparation to make sure that you're in a very, very dark place, because remember, light is relative to other light around you. If you have a huge flash in a well-lit room, that well-lit room on a camera will become a little dark because your flash is so big. Turn the flash off and that well-lit room is now going to appear very bright. So for astrophotography, you really want to be way outside somewhere in the middle of nowhere where there is no light pollution, so no light at all. That's really what's key. But what I would use for something like that is a nice wide angle lens. So go somewhere like a 24mm. That's what you're going to look for. If you're looking, what was the budget? About 1,000?
About 500 euros.
About 500 euros is about $700, right? So go for let me think about that. You can probably get, I mean, I might even go second hand or go with a Tamron lens, so like an off-brand lens with there. And go with a, let me just try and think. I think they've got what is it, 20 to 105 or 110, I think, in that kind of range. So you can go really wide, or you can actually pull into the stars. But I would go for something on the wider end for you, and then really focus on something that's got the lowest f-stop possible. Always try and do that, and where possible, avoid a lens that has different f-stops. So you don't want it that it is, say, 3.5 to 5.6, because that means if you zoom in, you know, at f5.6. If you zoom out, you're going to be at f3.5. You want something that is constant throughout the entire focal length. Okay, let's jump back in. Thank you for that question. Remember, ask me more questions and I'll try and answer them. That's not the right button. What do I press here? There we go. Ray, I need you. You're so good at this. I'm not. Let's keep on going. Oh, this is an interesting photo. So I'm all supercar. Are you a supercar, like a Lamborghini? Okay, I think this is a really interesting image. You're obviously throwing up some kind of a seed or something from some like pine cones or something. I like it. It looks like they're floating. It looks somewhat magical. I feel like the image as itself, though, isn't particularly dramatic outside of that. It's a simple photo. So maybe I would have worked at a slightly different angle to make that more interesting. This is the challenge with 50mm. Things can just become a little bit normal. So we want to try and get somewhat creative with it. I'd have maybe tried to get lower down there and get the horizon in the background. Would have been slightly more interesting. Let's keep going. Brendan Mooney. Oh, this is interesting. This is actually a nice photo. I'm going to try rotating this to see if we get any. Yeah, that's definitely the best angle. Slightly odd on the angle of this image. I can't tell if it's below her, above her. She's obviously lying down. I think I'd want the camera to be a little bit higher up, looking down. Would have made a little bit more sense. But outside of that, I think it's a really pretty photograph of a girl playing with some fairy lights. Christmas lights, we had this discussion a few weeks ago. Christmas lights, fairy lights, call them what you will. But I do like it as a photograph. I just think that you needed to get above the model a little bit more so that it wasn't quite as awkward. Here we go. Oh, that's a sweet photo. Charlene Nebres. So my guess is you are shooting 50mm f1.4 for this one. It might be a 1.8. Let's see if it'll tell us. It is a 1.8 ISO 400, and it says here you're shooting at f0. Which is impossible. My guess is you were shooting at f1.8. You've got your focus pretty much bang on. One thing that I would say here, I would have tried to bring down your ISO from 400 to the lowest ISO that you could have done, so that it would have been a little bit slower on the shutter speed, but we've got a little bit of noise in this image that you could have brought out just by lowering your ISO. Outside of that, I think it's a really lovely edit. However, this is something that you get with distortion. When you have something very out of focus, you can see what's happened here. Her eye line is still kind of sharp, so it almost looks a little bit weird. And maybe the image is a little dark, actually. Let me just brighten this up a hair. See, I do that. I just brighten this image up a hair. But really nice photo, and I think you've got the focus and the interest bang on there. I like it. Here we go. So this is from Machete Love. And so this is confetti falling down. I think you've got a really great angle on this. I like the I think the confetti's already landed on her head. I would try and get the confetti falling a little bit more. You've done a nice job at keeping it off her face though. So I do like the image. I think it's a little bit warm, again, a little bit on the magenta side, the purple side. So what I would probably do with an image like this, I would have edited it a little bit more like this to bring it to life a little bit. Nice shot though for a 50mm lens. Good use of that lens. Oh, you see, here we go. This shows how great a 50mm lens and what you can use it for. We're now using it for a landscape. I like the image. I think the clouds are a little bit blue, but if we click on that, it's now going to make the clouds too yellow or orange, but I think we can kind of split the difference somewhere like this. I think this looks really, really beautiful, actually. In fact, what I would do to this image? I would come down here and I would make it even more autumnal. So I'll take the oranges and push that slightly to the orange, and the yellows I'd push way back towards the oranges, like so. Something like this, and then I'd take the saturation and I'd actually kill the saturation of lots of the other colors, like so. And by doing that, what you're going to do is you're going to bring together this autumnal, moody feeling for a photograph. I might even lift it up a hair. If we look at the before and the after, this is where I would want to see the photograph going. That's from Daniel Adamski. So a really beautiful photograph, but I think that you could have worked a little bit more on the color grading of the image to bring out those autumnal colors. Let's keep going. Oh, I love this. 50mm f1.4 shot at f1.8. Wonderful example. So this is a great example of somebody not using f1.4 just because the lens is f1.4. That may have been too shallow a depth of field. And many of you might know I'm not the biggest fan of vignetting an image, but this time you've done a wonderful job. It's black and white, your blacks are black, your whites are white. It's wonderfully focused in. I think this is exactly the right way to use a 50mm lens. You've had to have a high ISO because it's so dark in the room. But again, I think you did a good job at not using f1.4 to bring ISO down, because I think, somebody's calling me, didn't turn my phone on silent. We are a catastrophe today. I think that, you see, her eyes are sharp, whereas he's already a little bit out of focus. If you went 1.4, you'd have ruined your image. So wonderful choice there. Questions? Yeah. We do have questions. Bear with me. It takes me a minute to get to questions. We press that button, and then I press this button.
And then I put your mic on.
Okay, we have a question from Mary G. With a 50mm lens, how far should you be from your subject, and how far should the subject be from the background in order to get a nice bokeh?
Great questions. Okay.
Whoa, let's come back. We're back. So that question was, how do you use a 50mm lens to create great bokeh? Now, in terms of how far to create great bokeh, this is the easiest way of explaining. I'm going to grab some things here. I don't know. To create great bokeh, if you have the camera here, then you want to have your subject close to the camera and your background further away. If you reverse that, so if this, I don't know how to do this, how to demonstrate. I should maybe draw on my screen. Oof. Oh, I can't be bothered. So basically, this is really hard. If you have, this is your camera, this is your background. what you can do is you can move your subject within this space. You want to have the subject closer to the camera and the background further away. So if I'm 3 feet away from my subject, I want the background to be, say, 20 feet away. But if I'm going to be 6 feet away from my subject and my background is only 2 feet away from my subject, they're closer to the background. Therefore, the background's not really going to be out of focus. And remember, then the closer they get to the lens, then you have more leeway with the background, because if they're only 30 centimeters away from the lens, then the background has to be, you know, a meter away. I should do it in inches. A foot away and 3 foot away, you know, something like that. So that's basically what I would suggest doing, is having your subject closer to the camera and your background further away. 50mm lens, how far away would you want to be? Well, what are you trying to frame? If you're trying to frame a full body, then you're going to have to be further away from the subject, therefore meaning your background, to get a nice blurred out background, the background's going to have to be even further away. Whereas if I'm going to be taking a portrait, so I'm just going to frame it like this, well, the camera's only going to be, say, 4 feet away. So therefore my background would only have to be, say, 8 or 10 feet away. I hope that answered your question. Rule of thumb, be close, have the subject closer to the camera than your background. Okay, let's keep moving. Let's see if I can come back down here. It's one of these buttons. There you go. Okay, so Don Mandley. Okay, so this is an interesting photograph of it looks like a cross on a hill. That's what it's called, a cross on a hill. I like the photograph. The cross is nice and sharp. I like the background is nice and blurred out. You've gone for an F10 because you want it, my guess is you want to get the background in focus. Personally, I would have gone down to an F4. And I would have got that background nice and blown out. It looks like you've got a nice house or a hotel or something on a hill overlooking this. Beautiful, but you've kind of cut half of it out. If you're going to include something in a photograph, include all of it, not just a part of it. That's my opinion. Outside of that, nice, simple photograph, but it definitely shows where you were. Maybe you just went for a walk down that beach, you had afternoon tea at that building, and then you walked onto the hill to look at the cross. It feels like that's a nice little story. Let's whip through some more because we've got more questions coming in. Dr. Sanjita Ajmeria. Sorry, I'm not very good at this. Oh, we're getting more photos coming in. That's okay. No, it's fine, it's fine. Let's jump in here. Okay, I really like this photograph. I think you've really got the focus in here. It looks like you've got buildings on both sides of you, which is how you've created some contouring down the child's face, because you've got dark areas. Then the sky is above, which is what's creating your key light. I think it's beautifully shot. Looking down onto a child makes it look very childlike and innocent. It accentuates the eyes. One thing, and again, I say this all the time, this is my opinion. If you're gonna make it black and white, click the black and white button and actually make it black and white. But really nice photograph and well framed, so good work there. Let's keep going. Oh, look at this. Farhan Mungits. Oh, I'm terrible with pronouncing name. Mugits. Okay, thank you, Mugits. I don't know where you're from. This is a f1.8 50mm lens, ISO 400. There you can see here that you've got the subject is nice and close. You've got the background a long way away. My guess is it was sunset and there's trees behind because you can see the yellow from the sunset. You can see the tree here and the lights really blowing out between the branches. That, I mean, I'm not into animal portraits. Actually, I don't mind animal portraits, but it's cute. That is cute. One thing that I would do is probably lift the exposure, and I've lost the cat's eyes a little bit. So what I would do here is I'd come into the brush. What I'm actually going to do is inside PIC presets, I have all of these and I have all of these different brushes here. So I'm gonna go for eyes enhance blue. Now all I need to do is click on that because the cat's got blue eyes. And I'm gonna paint that onto the eye there, paint that onto the eye there. And then straight away when you come out, you can see those cat's eyes have now really popped out. And that for me really sets that apart. I think you've taken a great portrait of your cat. Beautiful. A few more, then we're going to get some questions. Franz Houlet. I absolutely love this photo. This is fantastic. This is confetti falling onto a bride and groom is what I'm guessing. It'd be weird if it wasn't. But what I love about this is the focus is on the confetti or rice, and then the bride and groom are out of focus behind it. It's created this really beautiful, like raining, showering effect over the top of the couple. This is a wonderfully shot photo and a great example of how you can get creative with focus with a very, very simple lens. So great work. I like that a lot. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly come over here. You can see my screen still. I'm going to show you a video that I made all about how to capture great wedding photography. All you have to go to is go to YouTube, go to Photos in Color, but best wedding photo. Maybe type in that and see if I actually come up somewhere. How to take the best wedding photo. I know that I had one that I don't know what my thumbnail was. Just go to my channel, Photos in Color. So I'm going to show you this one. It was fun. It's only a 3-minute video. I'm not going to play all of it for you now, but I would suggest the thumbnail is this one here. Take the best wedding photograph every time. And what's going to happen is you're not going to hear this because
wherever your great idea happens, HostGator can help you make it a business.
Bit of advertisement just there.
Great.
And that there is how to shoot the perfect wedding photo in just 10 steps. This is Ed Gregory from photosincolor.com, and today I'm going to teach you how you can get the best wedding photo every time. All you need to remember is these 10 steps. Number 1, you need a DSLR camera. Number 2, a wide...
I skipped it. Okay, I'm going to come back to me. I don't know how to do that. I broke it. I broke Christmas.
If you're going to shoot
we're back.
this wedding
Hold
photo,
on.
well, you need to be...
Watch that video because there's a really fun section at the end where I kind of run outside of the studio and we have a whole wedding shoot out the back. It's like 4 minutes. It's 3 minutes and 15 seconds long. Definitely go and watch it. I think it's a lot of fun. And I teach you basically how to take a photograph like this every time. Okay, a few more, then we're going to go to questions. Okay, let's jump in here. That was pretty weird that I just played that photo, right? That video. Was that a little weird? No. No? I just realized
Self-promotion.
Self-promotion. Exactly. Okay, so I've just messed up here. There you go. So let's look at this one. Ooh. Is it me or does this look like it's fake? George Ernst. I don't think it is fake, but look at the way we've got the super sharp trees and they're green, and then it goes into this mysterious blue in the background. And we've got this is a great example of how to use shallow depth of field to create effect. But what you've been able to do is keep the trees here in focus, the trees in the background pretty much in focus because you're at a high f-stop, my guess. In fact, you are at f13, but you've got something right in front of the lens, which is this edge here, which is what's created this really magical feeling. Now, I don't think it's straight, if I'm going to be honest. I think that you need to level up your horizon. But I absolutely love this. It's kind of weird the way the haze is hanging back here. George, this is wonderful. What a great, interesting photo. Absolutely fantastic job. I love it. Great work. Helen Jenkins, you are here every week and I welcome you back. My guess is this is a cell phone because it's a tiny little flash. In fact, you can probably see the cell phone. So it's kind of interesting because the child has been lit by a separate light, and then the cell phone is lighting back and creating this very interesting star shape, which my guess is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Does that 8 stars? Does that mean that it's that the aperture, there's 8 aperture blades? I think that's what that means, is why we have that many. But that's an interesting photo. I'm not the biggest fan of having a cell phone in a shot, but it's definitely created an interesting look. And also well done for capturing that. It's very interesting and fun to look at, for sure. Great work, Helen. One more, then we're going to go to a question. Ivan Matthew. Let's have a look at... Wait, what? Hold on a minute. What's going on in this photo? Is that... Ivan... Are you, Ivan, if you are live, if you are here, can you explain to me what's going on inside this photograph? It looks like a work of art of something flying, but I don't know how it's suspended. Is this post-production? Is there like a thing holding it up? If so, great, and great work on getting rid of it. If not, how are they doing that? That is brilliant. This is a work of art of a guy flying over the top of a water fountain. Very interesting, well-composed photo. Don't love that it's a square, but it works nowadays for photography, for Instagram and all those things. Great photograph. I mean, the subject here is what's really stealing the show, and I don't get how it works. Where is it?
It's in Geneva.
Okay.
And he's removed the wires with Photoshop.
Wires from below, I guess. It's like been held up. Great. So Ivan has just said that it's in Geneva. And yeah, so it was held up and you removed it. Ooh, camera trickery. You tricked me. You thought, well, you didn't. I tried to, because I couldn't work out what was going on there. Anyway, thank you so much for that. We are going to now come over. Oh, Dan, you're in the bottom corner. I don't know how I did that. Hold on. Out of here, like that. And then I go here. And then I turn the mic on.
Question. Great. Do you want to say hello to Rosie, who's tuning in on her lunch break from CES? We haven't completely broken everything yet, but don't worry, when you get back, it's still going to be here. So we've got a couple of great questions. This is a really interesting one. I think you'll be able to shed some light on. Mark Phillips says, can you remember any photography work that you've done where you've received criticism for that work, and how did you deal with this?
Great. Okay, let me come... 1 second, it takes me a while. You can upload photos now. Oh. Now's your time. You're seeing behind the scenes on how we do this today. Okay, so can I remember any photography where I've been criticized? What was it and how did I receive it and how did I deal with it? First of all, most definitely. When I started, I actually got less criticism because people around me were supportive and helping. But as I improved and as my client base improved, then what happened was I started getting more criticism. Now, let me say this. Criticism can be just people just attacking you, okay? Or people can be giving you constructive criticism. If it's from a client, it's often not criticism. It's just, oh, we would like it to be done more like this. So that means the brief was maybe not correct in the first place. So let me talk about that a little bit. If you're working with a client, before you shoot or while you're shooting or sometime in the process, usually way before you shoot, you should always discuss with the client what they want to be delivered. Remember, we are artists as photographers, but if it's a client, then we're a business, so we have to deliver what the client wants. So the more discussions you have at the beginning, or at least the more ideas and conversations you have with the client first, means that you can get closer to the result for them. And often, if they requested something, you've done a load of edits and everything, and you've delivered it to them, and it's exactly what the spec was, and then they don't like it or whatever, then, you know, that's a harder discussion to have. But often what it is that it was just a bit of a miscommunication for what they were actually wanting. Now, in terms of taking criticism as an artist, as a photographer, it is hard. It is never going to be easy for you to put your heart and soul to something, because everybody knows that if you're a photographer, it's not just clicking a button. You are fighting to do really well. You're trying to create a work of art every time you click. And that's really hard to do. So there's a lot of you in your photography. So therefore, when somebody criticizes it, it's really difficult. So therefore, what you have to do is take a sidestep. Look, I run a YouTube channel, right? That's one of the things that I do. If anybody has ever gone on my YouTube channel and read my comments, I get 99% of wonderful comments from you guys saying thank you so much for your help and support and all of these things. And then I get a bunch of people that just come on and attack me. And at first I would get really hurt by this and be like, oh, but you know what I realized was, number one, allow that to push me further and harder to be, okay, I don't like the way that they're interacting with me, but is there a way that I can maybe improve on this and try better and do things differently? And then there's also a way to just say like, well, you know what? I'm an artist. I am doing my best. So I can't do anything else. So there's a level of acceptance of that you're not perfect, that you've got to try and do your very best. I hope that answered the question. I think I went into everything there. I didn't go into a specific project there because honestly it doesn't happen all the time, but it happens more regularly. It's not a criticism, it's an idea of like, oh hey, why not try this? And what you don't always have to do is go and fix it. You can just try and improve on that the next time that you shoot. And also, just be open. Take criticism. It just makes you better as a human being. Don't fight back, say thank you so much. I'll try better next time. And that's it. Do we have another question?
Yeah,
we did. I'm going to do more reviews.
I'm going to group a couple of questions together here. From Seconda, is it true that a 50mm lens sees like the human eye, and that's why these lenses are the best to take pictures with? And that's some greetings from Poland there. And also, Cade McLean says, is a 50mm 1.4 worth the upgrade from the 1.8?
Okay, great two, hold on. Great two questions there. So there's always, people always talk about 50mm and being, it's like the human eye sees, and that's what makes it a great lens. Yes and no. So first of all, if I put my arms, do it right now. Everybody sitting in front of your computer watching my show, go right now, put your arms out in front of you, and then if you go like this, okay, and then at some point, you're not going to be able to see your hands anymore. Or, I mean, here, they're completely out of focus. But until, you know, here for me, I can see my hands. Here, I can see them, but they're not really in focus anymore. So here, almost guaranteed, if I put a 50mm lens on, this is going to be pretty much what I'm looking at. So it is kind of like the field of view like a human. So that is accurate to a point because we all see slightly differently. But also, is that what makes it a great lens? Yes and no. If you want to capture something the way that the human eye sees, then it makes it a great lens. If you want to capture a wonderful super wide angle shot at capturing everything, they would have to turn your head to see, then it would be a terrible lens for that. So it all depends on what your purposes are. A lot of street shooters like 50mm lenses because that's what we see when we walk down the street. Another reason why 50mm lenses are so great are they are cheap to get into because they literally have like 3 pieces of glass inside them. They're fast, meaning a low f-stop. And what it means is, for me, why I think everybody should get it, is it limits you. You can't zoom in, you can't zoom out. Instead, you have to use your feet to move around, and that's going to make you way better as a photographer by limiting the things that you can change just quickly. You're going to think about things differently. In fact, again, I'm going to talk about my YouTube channel. I have a video which is called Why to Buy a 50mm lens. I don't think it's called that. It's called something like that. I'm going to search for it now. Photos in color 50mm. If you search that, then you're going to get this. 50mm DSLR lens, 10 reasons why every photographer needs one. Go check out that video. It's only 5 minutes long. I explain what all the good points are of a 50mm lens and also a few things on why it kind of just doesn't matter. That was actually a video from like 2 years ago when I first started my channel. The points are still relevant. I look way different, way younger, and I'm actually in the UK doing it. But go check it out. It's kind of funny. So, yes, that was that one. There was a second part to that. What was the second part?
Is it worth the upgrade from 1.8 to
1.8 to 1.4, is it worth the upgrade? How much money do you make? Like, honestly, if you've got a 1.8, I have a 1.8, I don't have a 1.4. I would say no. If you have a 1.8 50mm, then go get yourself a 1.4 85mm. Because now you've got two different focal lengths, both are really fast, and you've got way more variety in your shooting. Otherwise, you're stuck with two focal lengths exactly the same. If you're going to buy it first off, then the 1.4 is definitely a better lens. It's faster, it's sharper, almost in all the different brands. And remember, if you buy a 1.4, you don't have to shoot 1.4. Usually, one stop away from the widest is going to be a little bit sharper because you're not quite at the edge of the lenses. What is it? The widest f-stop. So a 1.8, I'd like to shoot at f2. At 1.4, I'd like to shoot at f1.8, so that it gives me that little bit more sharpness. That's it, really. So if you've got a 1.8, I wouldn't buy the 1.4, unless you've got every other lens, then I'd go back and buy it, but I wouldn't. Okay, now let's jump back in. We're going to do more of actually what we're here for. Look at this photograph. So this is theatre. If you know, you just found out as a Blue Man with Dan Cooper for years. I did it for 8 years all over the world. Huge fan of theatre, so instantly this has captured me. This looks like a clown. This eye makeup is like, what's it called? It's like Clockwork Orange. Clockwork Orange, yeah. And the hat as well. Yeah, Clockwork Orange piece of. I really like this. I love the blur that we've got going on here. It's really added to this kind of an image. We're at 51mm, so we're slightly outside of the range. It's fine though. ISO 1600 you've got to be because you're inside. You're on f8. I think you could have actually gone down to an f5, 6 or an f4 and then brought down your ISO. And you got a little bit more blur back here and focused a little bit more on this front person here. But all in all, I think that is a fantastic photograph. Really interesting, very dramatic. So great work. Oh, look at this from Ross Vickers. This is like a marketing stick smart water in the bottom or some brand like that. And we've got an ad campaign. Love it. Absolutely love this photo. Oh, look at that. She's got a man in her ear. Beautiful at sunset, running through a cornfield. The energy's great. If you look when somebody's running, you never want to get somebody as they're coming down because their hair will drop and all the weight goes down. And on the way up, the hair drops even more. Here, she's just over the top of the run, meaning her hair's nice and light. She's glancing to the side. This is a wonderfully captured photograph.
I think we have a confession from the photographer that wasn't taken with a 50mm lens, apparently, from Almost Social.
Well.
He's cheating.
So have you got, what? Hold on a minute. How have you written, so you've written into your EXIF data 50mm 1.4, and it wasn't. You liar. Ross Vickers, you liar. However, great photograph off topic, so I'm going to skip.
Oh, no, not that one. Forgive me, the previous photo.
Oh, this one?
The play photo, yeah.
Oh, yes, because it's 51mm.
Oh, I see.
So that's fine.
That's close enough.
Yeah, it's close enough. Okay, we're back to Ross Vickers. I'm sorry, Ross. I take it back. Taking that back. Great work. I love this photograph. I think this is wonderful. Honestly, yes, she's in the shadow, but the sun's behind her, so it makes sense. I wouldn't change anything about this photograph at all. You've added a lot of yellow to the image, and you've taken out the other colors. And I think, good to you. Well done. Perfect. I won't change a thing. Ooh, look at this. What is this? What's going on here? These are some people wearing some masks, and they've been lit by a flame. Hence, it's been shot at f1.8 because they've had to get as much light in here as possible. Really interesting photograph, very dramatic. And you know what? I'm so happy there's no other light source in this because it's like they're out in the field, these two creatures discussing something. Wonderful. Radu is their name. Great, interesting photo. Love it. Riley Rosser. Okay, so this is interesting. Very green. It's a little out of focus, unfortunately. So what we've got here. So let's take a look. This is good to talk about for the settings here. What I would have gone down to is f1.8. Got these trees nice and blurred in the background. Because what you're shooting at 1/50th of a second at f5.6 at 6400. So for me, you'd have gone down to f1.8, which would have meant that you could have brought your ISO down to say 3200 and and then stuck it on a tripod to make sure that we don't get all of this blur. So while the framing is nice, I think you're quite a way off with your settings. So Riley, I would go and practice a little bit more with your camera and see what happens if you start utilizing that lower f-stop at f1.8. Outside of that, I do like the framing of it. It's interesting. Let's keep going. Oh, look at this. Oliver Hadel. I know you show up every week as well. Fantastic. I love this. Right-hand side, strong person on the dock side, I'm guessing, dark colors. Left-hand side, all pure white, and the edge of a boat creeping through the fog and mist. It's called Windy. I think this is a really, really nice shot image. Now 50mm has limited you on this, so you can't have the mast. But you know what? I think that's absolutely fine in this scenario. You had a 50mm lens, you shot what you could. You've got a nice high f-stop so that you've managed to get the boat in focus. And this lady on her phone. In fact, look at that. It looks like this wire from the front of the boat has gone down, and then that's come up, and that's what she's talking on. It's like that rope there is the actual, it's like an old phone. Really nice photograph though, I like it a lot. Oh, I was gonna say look how giant that cat is, but that's a baby. So then that makes the cat smaller. Beautiful lighting on this. I love the color grade. Everything lives in the brown earth tones of this, the tile outside, the wood, the light, the skin tone, the cat. You've still managed to get the white of the cat. I think this is beautiful. Maybe a little dark. I may, oh, goodbye. I may have lifted it up just a hair to help it come to life. But outside of that, this is a really beautifully framed, like, portrait, environmental photograph of a cat and a child. Nice. Like, beautiful photograph. So, Poiter. My name's Poiter. It's like Peter. Poiter. Great work. Really, really nice. Let's keep going. Okay. From Pontus Ekoroth. Let's have a look what we've got on here. So 50mm sunset. Beautiful lighting on this. My guess is you've tried to sharpen her too much, and when you look in, you see you've got this big bleeding of the white all the way around. That's because what you've used to sharpen, my guess is a little bit of sharpening, but you've used clarity. If you can watch when I boost the clarity here, you get this big white border. If you're not sure how that works, clarity uses the mid-tone, and with that, oh, wrong button. With that, with clarity, go and watch my YouTube video all about Lightroom and clarity. It's one of my most watched videos. Got a great photograph of Rosie in it, but I go into detail on how the clarity tool works and why I think you should use it very delicately, because it really can ruin an image very quickly. And here you see you've got a lot of white fringing going on. Outside of this, I like the model. I like that they're stood in the road. The pose is interesting. The weight is back and she's not really up on her toe. So it feels to me like she's halfway into her pose. She's not quite got there. But outside of that, I think it is a well-exposed photograph, a great use of a 50mm lens. I think there's just a few things that you could have changed there.
I'll put a link to that video in the chat.
There is a link to the video we just spoke about in the chat.
And to the 50mm one.
And to the 50mm one as well. Oh, actually, guys, I don't know how to do this. Oh, I was on me that whole time, wasn't I? You couldn't even see what I was doing. Oh, well. All of the chat disappears after this, so I never get to read anything. So if there are some comments that you want to make about the live show, about what I'm doing, some upgrades, some changes, anything like that, please, after this goes live, come back, give me a thumbs up and leave a comment then, because then I can actually read those comments. Oh, while we're on here actually, because we've only got 10 minutes left, let's look on what the vote is. Oh, the vote is getting close, guys. Head over to Photos in Color on Instagram. We're currently 59% on f2.8 and 41% on extreme weather. So we might be doing another lens style shoot next week. be sure to go on and place your vote there. I haven't done my 50mm lens for you to comment on this week because I ran out of time and I forgot. I'll try and get one up later today though, so you can go on and check that out. Okie dokie, let's come back in here. Broke it again. Did it. Okay, where are we at here? This one here, we've got more photos. Look at that baby. This is obviously taken at Christmas. It looks to me like this may have been taken with a photo on a phone. It's a very small light source back here, which is why we've got this very interesting lighting right on the focus. Maybe you brought it up a little bit in post. I like the headspace. I'm not usually a fan of that, but it's kind of an awkward photograph. It's very cute as well. Who sent this in? This is from Rafal Smur. Great photograph. I think it's interesting, you know, it's a little dark for me. I'm actually, just because I haven't done it today, I'm gonna have a look at a PIC preset. I'm gonna go for, well, let's look at some vintage film ones. We're gonna stick on this one here. Ooh, just warmed it up slightly. Let's bring up the exposure hair on this. Nice, that kid's eyes are really bright and wide open. Let's go for something a little interesting, actually. Let's go for a art film. This is a little bit more dramatic for my presets here. Let's see what we've got. Something like this. Oh, I like that. That brings it to life a little bit. And actually, I think this is going to look great in black and white. I think this is it's got black and white written all over it. Look at this. Oh, adorable. Adorable photograph. So I actually like the framing of this. I just think the editing was a little bit bland. But nice work. Keep going. Oh, look at that dog. What type of dog is this? This is Will Roby 84 on Instagram. What type of dog is this? Does anybody know?
Brown one.
It's it's one of those brown ones. Beautiful dog. I don't know where you brought it from Facebook, it looks like. Guys, please send me your originals, not just your let me get it framed right. Not just your photographs from Facebook. Facebook rips all the EXIF data and also crushes it, so I can't actually see what these photos were taken on or anything like that. So try and send me, not your original, your JPEG files, your edits, but at least just straight from your editing software as opposed to from Facebook.
Apparently it's the Rhodesian Ridgeback.
That exactly, it's the Rhodesian Ridgeback, but this is the brown model. Like a dog as a model. Okay, how do I do this? I've done it again. Keep pressing the wrong button. Ray, where are you when I need you? There you go. Really, what I would have done with this photograph is got maybe a little bit lower and got some horizon in there. But from this angle, it makes the dog look cute. It's looking slightly to the side. I mean, you can't say anything bad about such a beautiful dog, can you? I don't even mind the grass across the face, actually. It's kind of adorable. So nice work. Oh, look at her. She's like looking up at the top. Something out of frame, maybe. I'm not sure what. Okay, so I just wanted to see what the focus was like on this. It is slightly out of focus. Maybe you focused here somewhere, but actually I think your shutter speed was probably too low. 1/100th, it was. You really needed to be at 1/200th of a second if you're not shooting on a tripod because it's a little blurry. You just moved your camera. I like the look of her, but because I don't know what she's looking at and she's kind of strong with her hips here, I would have had her looking at the camera, personally. Outside of that though, I do think you've really got the framing good because if you look, you're below her knees, so you've not cropped off on one of these edge points. In fact, let's talk about that briefly. When we are taking photos of people, what you don't want to do is, if I'm sitting, if I'm doing this, you don't want to crop me right at my elbow. You don't want to crop right at the knee. Cut on the calf, cut on the thigh. Don't cut right on the hips, cut a little bit above. If you're gonna, don't cut here on the neck, you wanna cut here, because that makes it look a little bit more, it's a little bit softer on the edit. It doesn't look like you've cut their limb off. It looks like there is something after the joint. So that's a good little tip there for you. Okay, let's keep on going. Lots of, look at the colors on this. This is a sunset during snow. Where are you? You are Winter Wonderland. I love that place, Winter Wonderland. There's a sunset just peeking between here. You've got lots of purples in this, which, you know what, I actually edit towards purples a lot. If any of you have ever seen my video about, I edited a cat about a year and a half ago. I did a live edit and I completely sucked and got it wrong, but I uploaded it anyway, just to show how we, you know, sometimes we go too far. For me, there's a little bit too much purple, but the problem is this, watch this. If I click on the purple to set my white balance, it's kind of gonna ruin the entire image. So if I was to want to change that, I would use the brush tool, and what I would actually do is go away from the purples and maybe desaturate again, somewhere like this. Oh, let me just double click effect to reset. So I would go something maybe like this. And if you watch on this section here, I'm not going to do a good job, but if I was to paint here, I can actually get rid of the purple and actually make the snow white again. However, now I've done it, I actually preferred it with it all purple. It makes it look very magical. Very magical. 50mm lens, I think you need to be further away so you can get more of the scenery in, but that's one of the disadvantages of a 50mm, is that you don't have that opportunity to move, to zoom in or out. You have to physically move. And also, where are you? Are they up a tree? Like, I just figured that out. How are they there? That's the top of some tall trees.
Maybe they can fly.
You can, who are you? Samuel Pertingagrass. Pertinagas. Yes. Particular gas. How can you fly? How can you fly? Okay, let's keep going. Ooh, what is going on here? This is, what is this? Anybody got any idea? I thought it was mountains. Is it bed sheets? Dan thinks it's bed sheets. I don't have a clue what that is. I'm gonna go to reset it though. It's weird and wonderful. I kind of like it. No idea what it is. There's a piece of abstract art in a very white room with no color in it. This would look very interesting. Apart from that, don't know what it is.
Just that photo that you thought he was flying, Samuel's this message is to say that was in northern Finland and he's standing on a steep hill.
Oh, very steep hill. Good work. I hope you skied or snowboarded down that steep hill.
Sand dunes.
The sand dunes. Wow, how interesting. What a great, interesting... maybe you just completely overexposed it. And in this case, I don't mind it. It looks cool. Okay, let's keep going. We've got some amazing... You guys have really been showing off recently. You've been doing really well. We're over our hour limit, but I just want to keep going. So this very hard sunlight here is taken during the golden hour, it looks like. I've just got a message. I like it. I like the angle. I like she's looking off. I would maybe want to have a diffuser above her just to cut off that really hard light because we've got the hard shadow around the nose. But outside of that, I think it's a nice photograph for a 50mm lens. That's a great example of what you can do with 50mm. See, the background's a long way away, meaning she's got a nice bokeh effect behind. Great photo. I like the fact that you've got the capture the reflection. I was going to say it was a little high in the frame, but we've got the reflection, so it matches perfectly. Great example of 50mm. You've got the entire image in. I think that you've again sharpened. You've got some white fringing over here. I think with this one, you might want to boost your vibrance on this and maybe take it into the reds a little bit, out of the yellows. Somewhere more like this, before and after. I'd want to go somewhere a little bit more like that. And let's actually see what happens if we... There we go. Your white balance was just off. I white balanced against the grey bricks. Now, before and after, I think this has completely come to life. That was sent in by Tanae Das. Nice work. Keep on going. Ooh, interesting angle. Shooting down, beautifully in focus. Really nice smile on the model. I love the autumnal feeling. She's I'm guessing this is a pregnancy photo. I hope I've got that right.
No, it's from Teresa, pregnant lady on the leaves. Yeah.
Teresa, beautiful work. I love the angle that you shot down here. You've shot at f2.2. I think you could have got away with an f2 or even a 1.8 and just kept her eyes in focus, but I get it, you wanted to keep her in focus. I actually like the fact that you're shooting down and captured that. Teresa, beautiful shot. Keep on going. Do we have questions?
We've got a couple of questions, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to come to those in just a second while you get them prepared. Christy van der Sweat, I really like this photograph. I kind of want to see it in color. That's just my opinion. But 50 mil, great example, shallow depth of field. You shot at f5.6. I'd have gone lower. I would have gone all the way down to f2.5 probably. Or maybe next week 2.8 I think might be it. It seems like that's where the vote's going to go. Because the rocks are nicely in focus, have some bokeh, but I think you could have gone more with it. Great, I love it as a little environmental portrait. Maybe they're your kids. I think this is a great photograph though. Nice work. Oh, Amy likes. Amy likes, Ed likes your photo. This is a great, great photo. I love the color. It's moody. You've got all of this fog in there. You've really captured all of it here. I think this is a wonderful example of using a 50 mil to capture emotion. One thing I might have wanted to do was get rid of these power lines because they're just so sharp compared to the trees. Now you can go to Photoshop to do this. I'm going to attempt to do it in Lightroom. Lightroom is not known as being good at this, but it can achieve it. So I'm going to try doing this live and we can see what results we get from this. To do it, all you do is you take the replace tool, blemish tool, which is at the top there, and you draw down something like so, and it will move next to it. So we would have to do it in sections because we've gone over the tree. But so far, I think that's actually doing a pretty good job. Now, over the tree would be a lot harder. You might have to do it in sections. I'm just going to do this and see what it finds. You see it's going to have a few issues lining stuff up there. You'd have to do that in smaller sections. But you can see you can get rid of the power lines inside Lightroom. It's pretty powerful as a tool. So spending a little time, I would have got rid of that. But I'm going to reset it for now. So great work. Let's do this photograph, then we're going to do that one, then we're going to do questions. So I like the photograph. You've shot it at f1.8. I think it's a little bit warm as an image. Ooh, that's a little bit blue. A little bit more like here is good. I think you've crushed your blacks. To do that, you'd have used your tone curve and you'd have lifted it up a little. I actually think that it has worked for this image. I've gone a little bit into the yellows. I like it. I wish this guy wasn't on the phone and I could focus more on just this couple. Maybe shooting lower would have helped with this. Oh, I'm going to get to this photo as well because I love it. Okay, Sandre Lauriston. Look at this. This is a slow shutter speed at 6 seconds. F16. I love the mood. I love everything on this. I just think that it's too cold. So I would want to take my eyedropper tool, maybe pulling it over here a little bit too far. Somewhere like this. This is giving me a lot more feeling to this image. Maybe you wanted the blue, but for me, it comes to life a little bit more now. Jump here, look at this. This has got to be a smoke machine holding a Canon camera. Now you've still got your tripod bracket on the bottom here. Great photo. Is this a 50mm lens? That would be, yes it is. You've shot a 50mm lens on a 50mm lens, f2.2, smoke, adding drama and everything to it. You have won today because you got a 50mm of a 50mm and you've got drama and everything. Gabor Mayhofer, I love your photograph. It is great. Let's go to a question from Question Time.
No? Ah,
yes,
I'm here now. Okay. We have a question from Helen Jenkins Knight. When you're viewing your photos in Lightroom, how do you assess the quality and the sharpness? Do you always use a 1:1 resolution?
Yeah. Oh, okay, we are back. We're back. We don't know what happened, but we lost my microphone.
We're going to go like this. Can we hear me if I go like this? It's okay? Will this work? Is it picking up okay?
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to go like this. We're going to end the show shortly anyway. But to answer that question, what was the question? Oh yeah, I got it. What do? So when I import my photographs, I have my import settings to 1:1, meaning that as it imports, it is going to render my images at 1:1. Now, to do that, you have to go to the library module. You can't see my screen. Now you can. So I'm in here, I'm going to go to the library module at the top here, and then I'm going to go photo. Oh, I've forgotten how to do it. Anybody remember? I was going to show you how to do that then. Oh, it's when you import file, import photos and video. When you select this, I don't know if it's going to allow me to do it. Apply, what you're going to select here is at the top here, see built previews. You're going to want to select 1:1. What that means is it's going to build previews for you. It takes a little bit longer on the import, but what it means is, it does take a little bit longer on the import, but what it means is everything will be rendered. So when you're inside here, if I click, it will zoom in to 100% resolution. What that means is I can now check my sharpness. I can't check it unless I'm zooming all the way into 1:1, and I do have the resolution stored as that. Okay, great. What I'm going to do we have any more imports?
Yep, there's some more coming, yeah.
Okay, we're going to pop some more in there. And do we have another question by any chance?
Yeah, we've got a question from 7529. Is it worth buying a full frame camera for street photography or stick with micro
4/3?
4/3, and if so, which lens?
Okay, great. So when it comes to things like this, what should you use in terms of for street photography? Do you need full frame? Do you not? That's all about resolution. That's to do with what are you going to do with your photograph. If you're not going to be printing on the side of a billboard, you don't necessarily need a full frame sensor, because now micro 4/3 or MFT lens mounts, now they make a lot of the lenses that are equivalent to your full frame. So stick with whatever you can afford and stick with whatever you've already got. Unless you have reached the limits of your current camera, don't change it. Only change it once you reach the limits. Don't do it just because everyone's buying this one thing. So if it's working for you, I think micro 4/3 for street photography is perfect because they are more compact in size. If you've got full frame, you use a D850 or a I don't know, Canon, whatever it is, Mark IV, and you've got this huge lens and a huge thing. Street photography, you know, keeping it nice and small. So 50mm is absolutely fantastic when it comes to street photography because it's what you're actually seeing. But it means you're going to have to do a lot more walking around and not just standing around for that. Okay, what I'm going to do at the end here is show you two things inside here because we've got more photographs coming in. We're going to go to this view because I like to flick through at the end and look at some final images and see what I want to show you. But also I'm going to show you how to find, for example, this week was 50mm photos. How can you have found your 50mm photographs? Well, all you have to do is if you hit Command F, it's going to bring up this tab at the top here. And what you can do is you can go for Metadata and it will bring up this and you can choose the camera, the lens, the focal length, and the flash state. So for example, I could come in here and say, well, I want to look at, let me bring in all the photographs that we've ever come into the challenge. And if I go to metadata at the top, and if I select, say, 50mm lenses, I can go to lens, 50mm, let me come down here, I'm gonna go for the 50mm f1.8, click on this. All of these photographs just here were taken on a 50mm f1.8, and I can find that very easily. You can do that for any lens that you want very, very quickly. You just have to make sure you've selected down here this one where it's like a grid. That's the most important thing. Okay, and now the final thing, I'm going to flick through and see what photos. We had loads of submissions this week, which is exciting. I'm going to flick through and see what else we have. I want to look at. I'll look at this photo. Oh, look how fun that is. Somebody jumping in. Great example of 50mm. Oh, you can't see the screen. Oh, so you didn't see any of that. Oh, rats. Okay, I'm going to go back in and show you over here. So sorry. When you are in the library module, you select down here, you've got the grid mode, and then up here it says really small metadata. And that's where you have your camera, your lens, your focal length, and your flash state. So now I could go through and select the different lenses. So if I go into the PIC Live Challenge, go to my metadata, these are all the different images. I've got each different lens. I can go through and see exactly which photographs, all my focal lengths. Okay, so if I went for all lenses and I just went into 35mm, all of these photographs were taken on 35mm. And then if I wanted, say, 50mm, all of these photographs were taken on 50mm. Really powerful. So I just wanted to show you how you can do that because it's a really useful tip inside Lightroom. And I'm just going to bring up two more photographs. This one here from Aaron Ankudovic. Now he actually uploaded two photographs using two different names. Please don't do that, we can tell. We get all sorts of information from your metadata. We can tell when you upload more than one photograph. But however, that said, I love this image. Was this like a bullet that was fired? Something like that? Either way, this is really, really great. It's also said that it's taken at 1 second. It can't have been taken at 1 second. This is more 1/300th of a second. So there's something going on with the rest of your metadata there, so be careful with that. But the reason why I want to bring this up is if you go here, if you go to Photos in Color, in fact, not photosincolor.com, we have a new look for the website now because we are about to upload loads of lens reviews, loads of camera reviews and everything like that, so you can flick through and you can read everything here. This is going to be updated on a daily basis from now on. But if you go into featured artists, last year I was doing featured artists. I want to bring this back, but John Smith, go and read his article because he was doing these stunning photographs where he was exploding light bulbs filled with all sorts of things. So go and check those out. It's a great read and to see how he did it. And I even attempt to do my own. And I nearly smash a lens doing it with a stone, throwing it across a field. It's a pretty silly, ridiculous video, but go watch that one. And then the other photograph that I just noticed that I want to bring up at the very end of this is this one. Look at this. This looks like two action figures that have been photographed 50mm. You've added smoke to it from Ian Lewis and created this really stunning photograph. Oh, I lost it. Really stunning photograph here. Really creative. Captain America and the Trooper. I don't know what Trooper sight is. Oh, that's a Starship Trooper. No, what are they called?
Stormtrooper.
Stormtrooper.
It's not quite a Stormtrooper.
It's not quite a Stormtrooper. It's something else. But either way, I love this photograph and really great work for being creative. Okay, so final thing. Let me see if I can come back to me. We are back. Sorry for being late, but we've now run over by a lot. But I just wanted to get through it all to apologize. But also, finally, let's look on here. What are we at with our vote? Oh, we have a result. Next week's challenge is F2.8. I'm going to try and get this up on photosincolor.com/live for the upload link. But it is F2.8 is the winner for next week. So every single photograph must be taken at an aperture of F2.8. Thank you so much for watching. I would definitely like to throw it over to say thank you to Mr. Daniel Cooper, who's now on camera. You've done an amazing job.
Thanks for having me.
We are going to be live next Tuesday, 11 AM on time, because we're going to have everybody back and we're going to figure it out. Thanks so much. That's not the right thing.
No.
Thank you so much for watching. This was Ed Gregory. Let me see if I can play the outro again. This was Ed Gregory from photosincolor.com. How do I do it? Here we go. We're out. No, we're not. We're going to do it one more time. We are
That's it.
out.